Watch snobs see Tudor as a budget Rolex, and it doesn't help that Wilsdorf set up the two companies that way. But Tudor collectors and enthusiasts today see Tudor by their two sides within the brand's professional line, heritage and modern. For the longest time, I focused primarily on the heritage line, the black bays, designs that were set as historical tributes to the Tudors of yesteryear. But the Pelagos, specifically the FXD line, shows us a different side of Tudor, much more relevant to today's modern age of professional use. Let's talk about it. If you're looking for your next watch, check out Swiss Connection watches for new or pre-owned watches with new arrivals every week. Thanks. If we look at today's broader watchmaking landscape, especially from a visual design perspective, we see that most watches with a professional past rely heavily on legacy and nostalgia to build their appeal. We made the first watch that went on the moon. We supplied watches to the Allied forces during World War II. Heritage plays a big role in brand building and storytelling, with even many microbrands nowadays openly admitting to taking inspiration from historical icons. In fact, 3 of the most trending watch designs today are all based on historical ideas: the integrated bracelet, the diver, and the odd case shape. The last one is a bit more recent, but not entirely original in the watch space, with traces going back to brands like Piaget and Cartier. And commercially, it makes sense. Those iconic designs have a strong sales track record. Simply put, they sell. New ideas are riskier, often seen as niche and untested. People are naturally drawn to brands and watch designs that have a historical background because this gives a sense of reliability and a deeper connection. And while the same can be said about Tudor, with their most successful line being a heritage line, the Pelagos is the strongest resemblance of its modern-day watchmaking capabilities. It's the collection where the tech is tested, where a new mix of complications and materials can be tested without limitations of past heritage. In fact, I can think of 3 things that make the Tudor Pelagos FXD line so important to the brand. Firstly, the FXD's heritage is interesting because this time, instead of the collaboration being a celebration of historical design, it's more of a continuation of a professional historical partnership between Tudor and the French Navy. What's interesting is that the Pelagos FXD is still issued to both the French and the US Navies today, with the Navy issued versions near identical to these but with minor changes on the dial, essentially making the FXD a modern-day mil-spec diver's watch created for a purpose. Even today, Navy divers rely on mechanical watches as they are less likely to get traced, run out of battery, or even get impacted by EMPs during underwater missions. Moreover, modern-day GPS only offers surface-level functionality, making underwater navigation a manual task, aided by, in this case, the bidirectional rotating bezel featuring a countdown timer to align the target time with the minute hand more efficiently. While many mechanical watches are relics, Tudor still produces military specification watches for Navy divers, making the Pelagos FXD a relevant watch for professionals and collectors alike. This brings me to point number 2, and that is the fact that because of its modern-day utility, the FXD is the perfect platform for the brand to create watches as per professional requirements. It is still an evolving model family, where new materials, new designs, and even different complications like chronographs and GMTs can be added when needed. Unlike the black bay divers that pay an undeniable homage to vintage Rolex subs, the Pelagos draws inspiration from vintage Tudor subs that were issued to the French Marine Nationale in the 50s, but this time without the need to follow any rigid visual design codes that connected to any particular past references. And that's what makes the Pelagos less predictable than the black bay. Lastly, the Pelagos is the result of purpose-driven engineering, with small adjustments like bezels, crowns, pushers, and even crystals adjusted for different objectives. Take for example the Pelagos FXD Carbon Cycling Edition. The obvious addition here is the carbon case. It's light, it's tough, and soft on the skin, making it ideal for a watch for a professional cyclist to look at when needed, but forgetting that it's there when not required. But with a closer look, you start to notice smaller details, like the fact that this version only has 100 meters of water resistance. This came as a result of replacing the screw-in pushers for pump pushers to rapidly engage and disengage the chronograph function while on the track. So even if there is a heavy downpour that renders your cycling computers useless, you still have a trusty backup on the wrist. To me, the Black Bay divers will always retain a certain level of control over their design in order not to stray too far from the original historical Rolex references that these are inspired by. Sure, they will have incremental upgrades as we've been seeing over the past decade, updated movements, proportions, clasps, but these will always work within historical parameters, at least visually. But the Pelagos FXD is the next chapter for the brand, the model family that is arguably most exciting for serious collectors. It's where the real testing, the real R&D seems to be happening, experimenting with new cases, new materials, durability, lightness, and modern-day functionality. This also resulted in the Pelagos FXD being the obvious choice for modern-day collaborations with professional bodies. Where the Seamaster took a professional dive watch and made it widely known as a commercial prop, Tudor continues to follow its historical roots of the 40s and 50s by still developing new, innovative, class-leading divers and general sports watches that are used by professionals today. And that's impressive. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps. Also, do check out Swiss Connection Watches website if you're looking for your next watch. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.